For half a century, this silo wasn't a building so much as a very expensive bird bath. No roof, constant puddles, and enough decay to scare off even the bravest raccoon. Most people would have walked past it and said, "Yeah, that thing's done." Two brothers, however, looked at this soggy 100-year-old relic and said, "Perfect! Let's build a luxury hangout in it." Meet Mitch and Jake, two brothers attempting what can only be described as architectural optimism on hard mode. Their plan is to turn a collapsing fieldstone silo from 1909 into a 3-story family fortress, complete with a bar on the ground floor and cozy lounges stacked above it. And they gave themselves just 1 year to finish, because the annual family reunion is coming and Mom needs to be impressed. The challenges are minor, like building vertically on aging masonry that's seen better centuries, or cutting down ash trees infested with bugs and turning them into usable lumber, or hoisting a 16,000-pound roof 40 feet in the air while Wisconsin winter tries its best to freeze everyone into statues. First step, clear the inside. That includes removing a full-grown tree that somehow decided the silo was a great place to settle down. Replanting it isn't an option. Its roots have woven themselves into the stone. So, out it goes. No hired contractors, no cavalry coming over the hill, just family, grit, and a whole lot of problem solving. The silo has been abandoned for decades, quietly crumbling in a rural field until these two decided it deserved a second act. Their older brother owns the property, and Mitch and Jake want to transform the space into a place where the whole family can gather, relax, and probably argue about who did the most work. With the interior cleared, the real work begins. Childhood fort-building skills, high school carpentry classes, and mechanical engineering degrees all come into play. They run plumbing for the future bar, lay gravel, compact the base, and blast decades of mold off the walls, revealing masonry that desperately needs repair. Fixing those walls safely requires a scissor lift, which means pouring a solid concrete floor. Before the pour, they knock loose, crumbling mortar to avoid future disasters. When the concrete truck arrives, they even engineer a temporary bridge just to finish the job without ruining the slab. It's risky, exhausting, and slightly insane, but if they pull it off, they won't just have a building. They'll have a story, a legacy, and one very proud mom. With the slab finally poured, it's time to make it look less like a parking lot and more like something you'd proudly spill a drink on. The brothers spread a colored powder across the fresh concrete, giving it that perfectly imperfect old-world look. Then come the giant blue mats, which they press into the surface to stamp a slate stone pattern. It's part construction, part arts and crafts, just with heavier consequences if you mess up. A few days later, the concrete has cured, and this marks a huge win in Phase 1. After all that sweat and stress, they can finally roll in the scissor lift. There's just one tiny concern. The entrance is so narrow it looks like the machine might need to hold its breath. Inch by inch, it slides through. Miraculously, it fits. The lift is officially in play. Now comes masonry. They start with a scratch coat of mortar, which isn't about looking pretty. This layer's job is to grab loose stones and tell them to stay put. In some spots, stones are pulled out entirely so fresh mortar can be packed behind them. And they pivot to something more familiar: woodworking. This week's mission is milling beams for the silo's octagonal roof, a design they engineered themselves because simple was never an option. 35 logs need to become structural beams before winter shows up uninvited. Buying lumber would normally bankrupt a project like this, but the brothers have a loophole: dead ash trees from their own land, victims of beetle infestation, and it is completely free. The finished stack weighs over 16,000 pounds. Before it can be used, the beams must dry. Spacers are placed between each piece for airflow. The stack is strapped tight to prevent warping, and moisture pins are drilled to track drying progress. One more big step closer to turning an old silo into something extraordinary. The next morning, they rise nearly 40 feet into the air and begin stabilizing masonry that hasn't felt loved in decades. The masonry marathon is finally approaching the finish line, but not before tackling the crumbling concrete rim at the top of the silo. This ring will carry the weight of a massive timber frame roof, so it has to be strong, level, and not held together by hope. They push late into the night to finish the section, ending the day exhausted but victorious, and also very aware that they've barely scratched the surface. Every salvageable stone from the project is reused. The ugly, jagged pieces get buried in the center as structural fill, while the good-looking stones earn a front-row seat on the exterior, preserving the silo's rustic charm. Wooden forms are built to hold an 8-inch concrete cap, tying the wall together and locking everything in place. After 3 straight months of masonry, the structure is finally complete. The once failing tower now stands solid, stable, and ready for the next phase. Once the timber is officially pest-free, the heat is dialed back and the slow, careful drying begins. At last, Mitch and Jake return to their comfort zone, carpentry. The Kyline dried ash, 16,000 pounds of it, is now ready to become an octagonal roof, a massive self-supporting structure where mistakes are not invited. The entire roof depends on mortise and tenon joinery, with every beam locking into the next like a wooden puzzle. The trickiest piece is the central king beam, cut into a perfect octagon to accept all 8 rafters. Unfortunately, the silo itself is not perfectly round, because of course it isn't. 8 months into the build, the roof is ready for its biggest test assembly 30 feet in the air. Before that happens, a deck is installed, serving as both a safety platform and the permanent third floor. A short break in the weather appears, and the brothers waste no time. The solid deck signals one thing: roof assembly is about to begin, and this job will need more than just 2 sets of hands. Putting this massive roof together inside a warm workshop was the friendly version of the job. Doing the same thing 30 feet in the air, with frozen fingers and gravity paying close attention, is a whole different sport. Every joint is heavy, every movement is slow, and mistakes are not invited to this party. Reinforcements arrive in the form of brothers. TJ, the youngest, jumps in with energy to spare, while Tony, one of the older siblings, brings experience and calm when things get sketchy. It's a full family operation, with everyone grinding through long days. The clock is ticking. Only 4 months remain before the annual family reunion, the moment they hope to reveal the finished silo and casually pretend this was all no big deal. So far, masonry and roofing have been the real monsters of the build, slow, brutal, and unforgiving. Once those chapters are closed, the rest of the work should finally pick up speed. For the roof covering, they go with metal sheets. It's a smart move, cheaper than traditional roofing and built to last. At this height, the last thing anyone wants is a future weekend spent fixing loose shingles. One install, done right, and forget about it. For the first time since 1909, the silo is sealed from the top. It's a huge milestone. Now attention shifts to the vestibule, a timber frame structure that must rise high enough to connect the ground level to the second floor. That means 16-foot vertical posts, which creates a problem. Their kiln can't dry beams that long. The solution is a scarf joint. 2 shorter timbers are fused into one continuous post. When done right, the joint is so strong it behaves like a single piece of wood, no questions asked. To anchor the rafters, the brothers carve custom pockets directly into the stone walls. No brackets, no weak points, just wood locking into stone like it was always meant to be there. With the vestibule dried in, it's time to build floors. The material comes from salvaged barn wood stored in the upper barn. They have just enough lumber, which means every cut has to be perfect. No pressure. Fitting floors inside a 100-year-old round stone tower is tricky. Nothing is straight, nothing is even, and every measurement lies a little. Each floor has a square opening at the center. This vertical spine allows heat from a future fireplace to rise, and will eventually house an electric pulley system for moving food and drinks between levels because luxury. A spiral staircase serves the lower floors, while a ladder leads to the third. To make that climb safer, a small 3-step landing is built at the top. This timber addition isn't just a fancy front door, it's doing some serious heavy lifting. Light is the real problem it solves. Cutting new windows into 2-foot-thick stone walls is a great way to invite structural trouble. So instead, this wooden addition gets wrapped in glass. It becomes the silo's main daylight collector, feeding sunlight into both the ground floor and the second level, like a well-lit escape hatch. The ground floor of the future bar goes first. Heavy 5x5 posts are anchored into the concrete, forming a rock-solid frame. The showstopper is a 14-foot bar top made from 2 maple slabs milled and keyline dried months earlier. On their own, they're too narrow, but joined together with wooden biscuits, they lock into one wide, seamless surface. The real challenge is fitting that slab to the stone walls. The fieldstone is anything but straight, so templates are used to trace its irregular curves. Those lines are transferred onto the maple, turning chaos into precision. Windows don't come cheap, and they're easily one of the biggest expenses in the entire build. But by saving money everywhere else, milling their own lumber, reusing materials, doing all the labor themselves, the brothers finally get to splurge where it actually matters. Up top, the goal is full panoramic views. Custom curved glass would have demolished the budget, so they let geometry do the work. By shaping the top level as an octagon, they can use 8 standard flat windows. The result looks round, feels immersive, and costs a fraction of the curved glass nightmare. One especially satisfying detail is the giant window fitted into the silo's original vertical opening. Back in the day, this slot was used for ventilation and farm access. Now, it's been carefully framed to bring in light and act as access between floor's old purpose, new glow-up. Step back, and the transformation is wild. What was once a roofless, collapsing tower is now a sealed, weatherproof structure. The masonry is stabilized, the timber roof is locked in, and high-performance glass keeps the elements firmly outside. The shell is done. The 9009 silo can finally relax. With the outside secured, the focus turns inward. Floors are installed and sanded smooth, ready for oil-based varnish. Spring rolls in with perfect working weather and also a deadline. 1 month left before the family reunion. That brings them to the most anticipated feature, the custom spiral staircase. No off-the-shelf parts here. They start with a massive maple log and slice it into solid 8-inch thick slabs, each one becoming a step. Big wood means big personality. Some steps crack along the grain, but instead of tossing them, the brothers install bow tie inlays. These wooden keys lock the splits in place, turning flaws into design flexes. Stretching across 2 stories, it's home to the spiral staircase and acts as the main connector between the entrance and the upper levels of the silo. Without it, you'd basically be climbing your way up a stone tube in the dark, which nobody wants. The entire staircase balances on a single 1-inch stainless steel rod, anchored deep into the concrete with structural epoxy that chemically bonds steel to stone. Each step slides over the rod, stacking into a perfect spiral. Installing the staircase changes everything. For the first time, there's a smooth path from the bar area up to the first lounge, and suddenly the building knows what it wants to be. The silo officially retires from farm duty and steps into its new life as a multi-level hangout. Next up, the back patio. Its curve is carefully planned to wrap around a circular gas fire pit and matching seating. Since the concrete mixer is already hanging around, they also pour a clean 4-inch sidewalk at the main entrance. With the exterior wrapped up, it's finally time to shape the inside. Jake routes a hidden channel beneath the slab for LED strips, adding a soft glow that will wash down the face of the bar. Then comes the test fit. Somehow, a 14-foot slab slides into a circular room and lands perfectly. No adjustments, no drama. Rare, but glorious. Upstairs needs its own centerpiece, so the brothers start building a massive chandelier to hang around the central opening. With no reclaimed beams available, they use standard 2x10 lumber and distress it with an adze to give it an aged hand-hewn look. The fixture is heavy enough to demand a temporary hoist system. With a bit of clever rigging and more family help on the way, it's ready to take flight. At the very top, the brothers build custom perimeter benches that hug the curve of the silo, turning the round space into a perfect circle of conversation. No awkward corners, no bad seats, just a wraparound meeting spot that practically demands long talks and late nights. Staying true to their hands-on philosophy, they don't outsource the cushions either. Using templates just like they did for the bar, they cut, assemble, and upholster everything themselves. It's equal parts woodworking, upholstery, and patience. Down on the ground floor, the concrete gets a glossy seal, toughening it up for years of foot traffic, spilled drinks, and enthusiastic family gatherings. Next comes the gas stove. To vent it properly, they need to drill a 2-foot channel straight through the stone wall. The drill disagrees, slamming into a massive fieldstone that refuses to move. Drilling through it would take forever, so they switch tactics, chiseling around it and muscling the stone out by hand. Problem solved eventually. Built for Wisconsin winters, the stove will send warm air rising up through the silo like a cozy chimney. The landing rail goes in without much drama. Then things get interesting. The railing has to follow the spiral curve, which means straight steel is no longer welcome. To bend the rebar just right, the brothers improvise with the best tool available, a tractor wheel. It turns out farm equipment still has a role to play, just not the one it used to. Once the steel behaves, custom mounting plates are fabricated to anchor the posts from below. Structural bolts are sunk deep into the wood and capped with hand-cut plugs. And then reality checks the calendar. A full year has passed, and despite heroic effort, the silo isn't finished in time for the family reunion. Between brutal winters, surprise nails in the sawmill, learning masonry the hard way, and waiting for wood to dry at the speed of physics, the deadline quietly expires. But there's no disappointment, only pride. This isn't a weekend project. It's a lifetime build. So they let the date go and get back to work. The second floor becomes the comfort zone and Mitch's favorite. The plan is clear: relaxed seating, a fire pit below, and a TV above for game nights. To anchor the room, they create an accent wall from salvaged apple crates. Each piece is laid in a careful herringbone pattern, turning throwaway wood into a surprisingly refined feature. With most of the details complete, the spaces finally feel livable. But one key element is missing: tables. Jake mills two massive octagonal tables from solid ash, designed to sit at the center of each lounge. Their 8-sided shape mirrors the geometry of the roof above, tying the whole design together. Bonus feature: they're permanently anchored over the central opening, doubling as a built-in safety barrier. That opening has been waiting for its moment: the electric pulley system. Hidden beneath the top table is an ATV winch, quietly solving the problem of serving snacks across 3 levels. The tray itself is built from scrap wood and metal already on hand, proving resourcefulness still beats fancy hardware. With the push of a button, food and drinks travel upward like magic. 15 months ago, this place was a roofless ruin. Today, the 9009 fieldstone silo stands as a family landmark.
One smart bot. Who's down there?
Me?
Who's me?
Your mother.
Oh gosh.
Taylor, put on the home show.
Don't put on a home show for her. Put on.
You are the youngest, and
Put
she
on
is your
Seinfeld.
mother.
All right,
We're gonna have to restart this.
put on Seinfeld.
Yeah.
Shut it down, boys.
Down there.
Mom, we're coming down.
Mitch and Jake rebuilt it by hand, learned as they went, leaned on their brothers when needed, and never rushed the vision. This wasn't a business project, it was a gift to their family, built to last.